There's a number of ways I could take this. I mean, firstly, yeah, Russia has a demographic problem, but all of Eastern Europe does, all of the Soviet Union
including
states did.
Ukraine.
Yes. So to put so much emphasis on depopulation or demographic decline, do you not think is a bit of a moot point? Because all
No,
countries
the
are
Russians
failing
certainly
to
don't
reach
see it that way, and that's really what matters here. One of the problems we've always had in the West versus the Russians is we always see them as technologically inferior, culturally barbaric, and wildly inefficient. And maybe that's all true. It doesn't stop the fact that they've been a dominant force in Europe for 350 years.
Well, I don't think any of those things. I think that there's a lot of just sort of Russophobia, perhaps for understandable reasons, but coming from the country partially, I can tell you the Russians have been incredibly important for technological advancements. The space race was between the Soviets and the Americans. I mean, you have to add Ukraine into the broader industrial base that they contributed to that, but I certainly think it's absurd to sort of look at the Russians as inferior. But my point is that if no country in Eastern Europe, former Soviet states, is reaching the replacement rate of 2.1, then surely that's a problem for every nation state, regardless of if they're in wartime or not.
Well, remember, we're all really fighting for time here. Who goes first really matters to history. The Russians, unfortunately, we have not had good data from them since about 2006, but that's when they stopped collecting the data that might allow us to get a good picture. They're probably looking at a situation similar to Ukraine, which does have better data, and that suggests there just aren't going to be enough people under age 40 to function in the way they're functioning now within 20 years.
Yeah, well, I think that the Russians, the latest estimates is about 1.5, and for Ukraine it's about 1.3. In Hungary it's like 1.1. It's even worse than Italy now,
I would argue that the Russian data is 100% made up, and it's nowhere near that positive.
So what do you think it is? Less than 1?
That's the problem. There is no data. The Russians got a last look in 2006, didn't like what they saw, and they just stopped collecting. So we just don't know. But if you look at the official data, according to the Russians, there was this massive baby boom, almost a doubling of the birth rate in the 2000s. And that's just asinine. That's never happened in human history.
So if we reorientate it towards the war, then you're saying that regardless of technological advancements, drone power, whatever, is not enough to offset the implications for manpower shortages and generally the structural situation.
I'm hesitant to say it that clearly because the rules of the game have changed so many times in this war already, most notably in the last 6 months. And on a broader picture beyond the former Soviet Union, we have a demographic degradation going on a global basis. No country is immune. And to think that military strategy is not going to reshape around the lack of manpower is kind of silly. And we're seeing it in real time. But to predict where that's going to go, we're in the midst of a second revolution in military affairs right now. How that will play out 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, I have no idea because we're only 3 years in.